Good morning, Senator.
Well, good morning, Calvin.
How are you, sir?
Well, you're asking on the right day. Things are fun. It's been a horrible week, but the hard part's over.
Well, okay. Well, first off, I want to start off with this, if I can. On a positive note here, you recently got a Distinguished Service Award.
Well, I did.
Yeah.
And it's by the RECs that were down here. And my gosh, we had a bunch of them. How many do we have here?
About over 30 from
Yeah, we actually had 40 in my office at one time. No, they gave me this honor that I've been real helpful to them over a long period of time. During the 8 years of Obama, he was trying to do away with fossil fuels, and obviously you can't generate electricity unless you use fossil fuels. And so we won that fight, and they are giving me some of the credit. But they're great people from all over the state, and I was honored. That was great.
Well, yeah, that is great. Okay, I do want to ask you about this. As far as, have you seen any general improvement in our overall military preparedness? And you're also urging the president to support the F-35 fighter. Talk to me about that, please.
Okay, well, first of all, yeah, we have, and we've talked before, right after the Obama administration. And I don't say this critically of him because he's a very proud liberal, and liberals don't care about the military, and so we were in terrible shape. And our army, our brigades on the ground, only 33% of them could be deployed because improper training. They didn't have the right maintained equipment. Now that has gone up to 50%. Now we have 50% that are able to be deployed now. So we're making headway there. As far as the Taiwan's concerned, and I don't think you're aware of it, but I just got back from the South China Sea, and I've been spending some time over there because of a problem that is there with China itself. But what we did, I think most people know that in John McCain's illness, I've been chairing the committee, the Senate Armed Services Committee. And so we sent a letter to the president to offer him cover to send F-35s to Taiwan. Taiwan they're courageous. They certainly have resources. Democracy has worked successfully there, but they need to have equipment because of the threat that they're under. So yeah, that's something that is necessary. Let me just mention, if I can, Calvin, the reason that the threat that's out there right now is that we have two countries. You have Russia and you have China. And China now, it very quietly has gone around all around the world, but this happened to have been in the South China Sea, where he is creating islands all throughout there. He's up to over 3,000 acres right now of land that he has built. He's pulled out of the ocean. It's obstructing our seaways. It's a real threat to the whole world. Now, these are all military islands. They're covered with runways, cannons. It's just as if they're preparing for World War III. And that's had the effect of intimidating our allies there. And I'm talking about the ones that even South Korea and others are being intimidated by.
How long have they been building these?
Well, it snuck up on us. We didn't know that he was doing it until one was finished. Then we realized simultaneously they're doing it in other parts. They now are up to 7 islands, and they're in areas that would be very restricted in our ability to transfer our equipment around should there be a war or some kind of a problem. But the worst thing is all of our allies, the Philippines, are looking at them and saying, gosh, they're in a stronger position than the United States is. So they look at us now equally or inferior to China in their capabilities, their military capabilities. It's a scary thing that's going on. And I think you also saw in the, what was that report that came out on Russia? The RAND report. The RAND report came out and said that if Russia were to take on the NATO, they could defeat NATO, including the United States and all the resources that we have, because they are in that position now. Now, they don't have the money that China has, and so they could not sustain anything. But right now, I think you're fully aware that we're sitting around and waiting. It could happen this hour. It could happen in 2 days from now, and that is the president sending something over to take out the resources that they used for chemical weapons just a few days ago. Now, before people get too upset about this, you have to keep in mind our intelligence tells us that it was definitely Assad that did it, and they deliberately used these weapons, taking out the women, children, and people over there. But we now have our allies agreeing. We're getting ready to take a major action over there, but we have the Brits behind us. We have France behind us now. All of them saying, we decided many years ago, right after the Second World War, that we were not going to tolerate chemical weapons anywhere in the world. And so that's what's happening. And people, I think more people are concerned about Facebook than they are about that here in Washington.
These are very sobering, comments that you made for us. I do want to ask you this, though. As far as the GOP goes, as you look across to the U.S. House, and we heard yesterday Speaker Ryan saying, he'll serve out the end of his term. What does this mean for the GOP? I have to ask you that.
Oh, well, see, Ryan is, I like him, and Ryan's wife, is from Oklahoma, and they're good people, but he's been just under it. There's so much pressure. And that's a very, very difficult job over there because the House in the Republican side is so divided that they have a hard time all agreeing on something. And I think it'll be Steve Scalise. He's the guy that was in the baseball game that they have where the Democrats and the Republicans play once a year. It's a charity thing. He's the one who was shot by terrorists during that. He is now recovered. I had dinner with him last night, and I think he's going to be the one who will be the new speaker. So they're not in that kind of disarray. It's just they don't have the kind of leader that is going to pull them all together. I think Steve is that person.
Okay, Senator, I do want to ask you one other thing about the president's been talking a lot about deregulation, just in general in industry, and we're seeing this, right?
Oh, my gosh, and we're seeing the results of it. Calvin, hey, I've got a website. It's inhofe.senate.gov, inhofe.senate.gov.
Okay.
Now, you go to that website, and you can have the updated list, and it has a picture of me with the president because he signed his first bill signing a year ago was my bill, and it was one of these over-regulation things. So we're up to 70 regulations that came out of the Obama administration that we have either done away with or are in the process of doing away with. Now, that's the primary reason that our economy is flourishing right now. We went through 8 years of Obama with an average of 1.5% increase in economic activity. Well, we're already up under this administration to over 2.5 times that. Now, why is that significant? Because that's where your prosperity comes from, and that's where revenues come into the federal government. For each 1% increase in economic activities, or GDP, that equates to $1.9 trillion over a 10-year period. And right now, when we're rebuilding the military and also getting a real ambitious road program that I'll be very active in, we need to rely on revenues coming in the future. And so that's what's happening. When you hit the nail on the head, not many people realize, except those. Well, I'll tell you who realize it. Every farmer who's listening to us right now, they know what the President Obama tried to do. He tried to change the jurisdiction of water from the states to the federal government. That means there'd been another whole army of bureaucrats crawling all over every farm in our state of Oklahoma.
Yeah, the waterways of the...
Yeah, WOTUS. That was the Waters of the United States.
Waters of the United States, yeah.
Yes. And that of all of the over-regulations, that's the one that bothered the farmers the most. Now, the bankers are in town from Oklahoma, the community bankers. Of course, they're very excited because one of the other regulations was known as the Dodd-Frank bill, and that treated our community banks just like the giant banks. And so with all the regulations, and you talk to any banker anywhere in Oklahoma, and they'll tell you that's the worst thing that's ever happened to the banking industry. And so, it's kind of like we had to actually pass a law to allow them to relax regulations when we had the disastrous fire out in western Oklahoma. So
Yeah.
we're tackling these things one at a time, and I really think if anyone, they should all be interested. But get to my website, and you have to repeat it probably from time to time, and you just ask for or upgrade the document on all of our regulations that we're addressing right now.
All right. Very good. Senator, we could talk all morning about this, but I'm out of time.
Well, all right. Hey, it's great to
it.
talk to you, and we're on top of this stuff, but people should understand we are in the most threatened position we've been in as a nation because it's a whole new game out there, but we have the right guy at the helm. I know he's abrasive to a lot of people, but I'll tell you, he's getting it done.
All right. Senator, thank you so much.
You bet. Thank you.
Bye-bye.